Putin shatters any last pretense that rules-based order will protect us. Borders don't matter anymore. Russia's president says that Ukraine is part of Russia's spiritual space. So it's okay to send troops and tanks across the border to seize territory of a neighboring country. That is precisely what Vladimir Putin is now doing. It's in brazen violation of the UN Charter, which forbids the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, as the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres immediately pointed out. Oddly, the Charter makes no reference to the supernatural right of nations to make claims on each other according to their imagined spiritual spaces. Whatever. No one is going to enforce the Charter in any case. Western governments, including Australia's, are huffing and puffing and imposing sanctions on Russia. But no one is stopping it. Not the US. Not NATO. Certainly not the UN Security Council, over which Russia wields a veto as one of its 5 permanent members. You hear politicians banging on about the rules-based order. There is no rules-based order. It's dead. Putin pretends that he's sending peacekeepers into Ukraine, a flimsy fig leaf behind which lies the ugly reality of Putin's ambition. Might is right. The only law that applies is the law of the jungle. The only order that matters is the order of battle. Of course, this is not the first time a great power has smashed its way illegally through UN law and across international borders to please itself. The US did it when George W. Bush invaded Iraq in 2003 under the pretext of finding non-existent weapons of mass destruction, cheered on by Britain's Tony Blair and Australia's John Howard, for instance. Putin has done it 3 times. He invaded Georgia in 2008, annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 and then sent unmarked Russian forces into eastern Ukraine in the same year. His latest attack on eastern Ukraine is his 4th, an overt consolidation of the territory that his unmarked little green men covertly occupied 8 years ago. As a US official aptly told reporters in a background briefing yesterday, this is Potemkin politics. President Putin is accelerating the very conflict that he's created. China's Xi Jinping has done it. The International Tribunal in The Hague ruled in 2016 that Beijing had no legal basis under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea to the maritime territories it seized from the Philippines. Xi simply ignored the ruling and continues his ever-expanding encroachments on the territories claimed by China's neighbors. Xi may be less showman-like than Putin, but he is more ambitious. Since 2020, he has applied new energy to pressuring Japan, India, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei as well as Taiwan. With impunity. Law and order do not apply and the US and its allies are no less guilty than Russia and China. So this is not about morality. There are no morals in the jungle. The shock here is that the US and its allies find themselves no less vulnerable, either. The US now faces a peer competitor. As Rush Doshi, China director of US President Joe Biden's National Security Council, wrote last year before he went to work in the White House, the US cannot compete with China symmetrically, that is, dollar for dollar, ship for ship or loan for loan, in part because of China's sheer relative size. Russia, a smaller and declining power, is not in China's league, but they are in league with each other. Putin and Xi signed their so-called no-limits cooperation agreement 2 weeks ago. They will aid and abet each other's pursuit of power at the West's expense. Beijing, you'll note, refrained from any criticism of Putin's latest aggression. In the jungle, the only law is the law of survival. Putin has shattered any last pretense that some rules-based order or system of restraint will protect countries and peoples from domination by foreign powers. We have all been warned.